Welcome to Football with Cheese. Unbelievable night last night. The first round of the draft was a lot of fun. There were a lot of little surprises, a few huge surprises. It was just a really fun draft. We're going to get into it. But first, make sure you are subscribed and turn the bell for notifications so you never miss a video. I'm going to do a second round mock, so look for that this afternoon, which is going to be harder than I thought. I kind of played around with when the draft ended last night, and there are just so many players, 40 or 50 I'm rated so close. So I'm just really hoping to get 4 or 5 right, because you just don't know what the team's boards look like. It's basically going to come down to what players the teams like and what's a good fit. So let's get into it. I'm going to break down pick by pick, and at the end, I'm going to pick one winner and one loser. And to make sure you stay till the end, and believe it or not, the winner and loser are the 2 teams that traded out. They didn't make a pick. So make sure you watch the end for that. This could be a longer video, but I want to give you guys great analysis. I don't want to be rushed. And, it's Friday. I'm off, so I have some time. So Cam Ward, he's the 20th best player on my board, but he's a quarterback. And he's got the tools. He can make all the throws. He's got some things to clean up. The turnover-worthy play rate's too high. Too many fumbles and too many passes in college that either intercept or should be intercepted. So I could see him maybe struggling year 1, but he has high upside. Makes sense. Take the quarterback. Number 2, the Jaguars traded a lot to move up to get Travis Hunter. I would not have done this. You give up your first rounder next year, let's be honest. It's not going to be a pick 25, 27, 29. It could be another top 10 pick. Jaguars fans are hoping it's not. But I think this was too much to give up for a player that's going to play a corner or wide receiver or both. It's not a premium position. And I believe in years 3, 4, he's going to have to pick one position and maybe just occasionally play the other one. Probably sticks at wide receiver. He's a little bit better receiver and corner. He's very good at both. As someone who appreciates draft capital, analytics has shown you build through the draft. The teams that win titles, like the Eagles last year, build through the draft. They drafted offensive and defensive linemen early. The Jaguars are drafting a wide receiver / cornerback second overall. And the Jaguars roster isn't very good. They need a lot of help in a lot of places. Giving up a second round pick and a first next year, and there was some other stuff, but I would not have done this. Travis Hunter is unique talent. He plays 2 ways, but he's not going to play 2 ways his whole career. It's just not going to happen. So the Giants, great pick, Abdul Carter. Even though edge is not their biggest need, you have to make this pick. He's the best player on the board. That's not Ashton Genty. They weren't taking running back 3rd. Abdul Carter had so much upside. He's only been a pass rusher for 1 year. In fact, he didn't really become an elite player until maybe the middle of the year. I watched him early on. He looked like he didn't know how to rush the passer. He was very raw. Unbelievable explosion. And the Giants now have one of the best defensive lines in the NFL. They added the secondary and free agency. I think the Giants could possibly have a top 5 defense in the NFL next year. What they did later, I completely disagree with. We'll get to that. Number 4, Will Campbell. I think this was a major reach. I don't think he's a left tackle. The Patriots absolutely do. Most people think he is. I disagree. I think he's a guard. And if he doesn't work out left tackle, you could move into left guard. Absolutely, you could. But you just used the 4th pick on a guard. So I get why they did it. He was not the best player on the board. He wasn't the best tackle on the board. I hope it works out for the Patriots. I really do. Nothing against Will Campbell. What a great guy. Great teammate. But my job is to analyze the pick, not the person. And it's just a major reach for me. I would have taken Genty or Graham or possibly traded down. And we're going to talk more about that when we get to the Bears. Browns, one of the big winners of the draft. You get the Jaguars second. You get their first next year, which could be a top 10 pick. And you still draft Mason Graham, my number 4 player. He was Mel Kiper's number 3 player. The dude is just a stud. He's always in the backfield. He gets off blocks. He is undersized with short arms. I don't care. He's just going to be a good player. I don't know if he'll be a Hall of Famer. I don't think he has that ceiling, but he's just going to be really good. And the Browns need a lot. And why not start in the trenches? They have 2 high second-round picks, and adding the Jaguars' first-round pick next year is huge. It's going to be a much better quarterback class. Maybe the Browns can use that pick to move up and get a quarterback next year. They have at least 2 first-rounders. Who knows? They could maybe add more. Ashton Gianti, Raiders, makes a ton of sense. The positional value is not good here. Running backs you can get day 2. But Gianti is special. He's the number 1 player on my board, regardless of position. And they really need a running back. Armand Membu, another great pick for the Jets. They need a right tackle. He's a plug-and-play right tackle. He dominated the SEC this past year. He's a great run blocker. He's a good pass blocker. Jets like to run the ball. It just makes so much sense. It's such a good fit. I actually almost mocked this, but I went away from it because I heard that Aaron Glenn, the coach, was really pushing for a defensive playmaker. I should have kept Membu. That was my original pick. Tanner McMillan, Panthers. This was somewhat of a surprise. Right before the draft, I heard the rumor that they might take him. I think the Panthers tried to move out. No one was calling. And this pick makes sense because they're going to put as much talent on Bryce Young as possible. Make sure he's the guy. This is year 3 for Bryce Young. Year 1 was a disaster. Year 2 started out as a disaster. He had some good games late in the year. He had some bad games. But give Bryce Young a big-time weapon. See if he has the year 3 breakout. Thought it was a little high for McMillan. There was a few better players on the board. Would have preferred maybe to give him one of those tight ends instead. Kelvin Banks Jr., Saints. I think this is a major reach. I get why they did it. The Saints aren't going to be good next year. Build through the trenches. I hope I'm wrong about Banks. Banks is one of the highest character players in this draft. And he loves football, so I understand. I just wouldn't have done it. I think he's going to play right tackle for the Saints. Bears, Colston Loveland. So let's talk about the Bears. Bears Twitter was hating this pick. They were not happy that the Bears did not trade up for Ashton Gianti. And if you're New England at 4 and you're Cleveland at 5, those are the spots you'd have to trade up to get ahead of the Raiders. You're probably asking for both Bears' second-round picks. Those picks are 39 and 41. Those are valuable picks in this draft. And I would ask for both. And those teams probably did, or asked for the Bears' first-rounder next year. And the Bears likely said, no, we're not giving up that much. A lot of Bears fans did not like it. They preferred Tyler Warren, or they wanted an offensive lineman. But Loveland, he's a stud. He's a great receiving tight end. They have Cole Kmet to be the inline tight end. I mocked Tyler Warren here, but thinking back, I should have mocked Loveland here because they have Cole Kmet. They're going to play a lot of 12 personnel. You got DJ Moore. You got Roma Dunze. Get a running back in the second round. This offense could be really good if Caleb Williams takes the next step, of course. But give him a weapon. No more excuses, Caleb Williams. You get maybe the best route running tight end in this draft. Not maybe. He is. Let's be honest. He is. So Bears fans, you should be happy, but a lot of them weren't. It was kind of funny. You know, I was on X a lot last night, just looking at the fan reactions. Okay, 49ers. Mykel Williams, edge from Georgia. 49ers need offense and defensive line, and the offensive line value wasn't there. Mykel Williams, he's high upside, great run defender already. They need an edge opposite Nick Bosa. So I like this pick. Some people were torn. Some 49ers fans on X were not happy. The other half were. Okay, this is kind of where the draft changed. Cowboys took Tyler Booker, guard, Alabama. The rumor is half the front office wanted Walter Nolan, half wanted Tyler Booker. The position value says you take Walter Nolan because he's a defensive tackle. It's a more important position. But Jerry made the call, went with Booker. I think you could have traded down and still gotten him. I believe Booker would not have gone before pick 25. I could be wrong. The Seahawks went guard at 18. Vikings went guard at 24. I don't think Booker fits their schemes. And I think the Texans would have taken him at 25. They traded out. But Booker's a great run blocker. Zach Martin retired. It fills a big hole at right guard. Jerry loves using first-round picks on offensive linemen. So I understand he's not super athletic. He's not going to get to the second level, but you can run behind him. You can QB sneak behind him. His film is amazing. So I understand. Now the Cowboys have to address running back and receiver, I think, with their next 2 picks. Those are huge needs. Maybe go Jaden Higgins, Iowa State, if he's there. Be a great fit in the second round. And third round, maybe come back and get one of the running backs that's still there, maybe Cam Scadaboo. Who knows? Dylan Sampson might be there. Maybe even Quinshon Judkins. I doubt it. Maybe he falls to the third round. Miami Dolphins. Kenneth Grant. Where did I have Grant? I had him in the top. I had 16 on the board. A lot of people think this is a major reach, that he would have been there in the 20s. I don't think so. I think the Cardinals and Bengals really liked Grant. Grant is a stud. 330 pounds, moves like he's 270, 280. Athletic freak, great run defender. It was a need for the Dolphins. The issues with Grant are two. His conditioning. He didn't look in shape to start the year. Really came on. Dominated Ohio State in that game. One of the main reasons why they pulled that huge upset. And when he gets tired, he tends to play high and he loses leverage and he's just not the same player. But he is a top 20 talent in this class. I would have preferred to trade down as well. They need a lot for a team not picking the top 10. Someone had to be calling them for this pick to get ahead of the Colts to take Tyler Warren. Had to. Tyler Warren's a top 10 talent in this class. Colts lucked out. That's their guy. That's who they wanted. Sometimes you just let the draft come to you. I don't know if the Colts had discussions about moving up. Sometimes the value meets the need. Great pick for the Colts. They're one of the biggest winners. Tyler Warren's a stud. He's an absolute stud. Jalen Walker, another steal. He should have gone top 10. He's an absolute playmaker. Great pass rusher. He can play off-ball linebacker in early downs. And he's so electric off the edge. And he's a great fit for the Falcons system. They needed pass rush. This was such a great pick. Later on, maybe not so much. We'll get to that. Walter Nolan, Cardinals. This is about where he would go. Maybe in the 11 to 17 range if there weren't character concerns. Obviously, the Cardinals have no issues with it or they wouldn't have drafted him. His off-the-field issues are more, is he a great teammate? Is he a great locker room guy? Not getting arrested or anything. But Nolan's an absolute stud. Jamar Stewart, Bengals. One of the highest upside players in this draft. Stewart skipped some of the agility drills, and I can understand why watching him. He doesn't bend well for an edge rusher, and not the best change of direction. Great run defender. Maybe not upside of an elite pass rusher, but good value here for the Bengals. I like this pick. He is a risk, though, because he did not have the production. Great Zabel, great pick for the Seahawks. This is another one. Value meets the need. They need offensive line as much as anyone. They have 2 second-rounders, 2 third-rounders. I would not be surprised if they draft 2 more offensive linemen on day 2. Emeka Egbuka to the Buccaneers. I like the value. I had Egbuka, where did I have him? I had him 23 on the board. I take him 19. He's a stud. He's a great route runner, great after the catch, willing blocker. The Buccaneers didn't need a receiver, though. They have Mike Evans. They have Chris Godwin. They drafted Jalen McMillan in the 3rd round last year. I just think this is the best player on their board by far. Baker Mayfield has to be ecstatic about this. He has so many weapons. He also has Bucky Irving in the backfield. The Buccaneer offense should cook this year. Jahdae Barron, corner from Texas to the Broncos. One of my favorite picks of the 1st round. I had him 15th on the board. Because he's undersized and has short arms, he fell. Broncos didn't reach for a need. They took the best player on their board, and they could use another corner. Patrick Surtain is one of the best corners in the league on the outside. Why not get one of the best slot corners to go with him? In my mock, I refused to put Murray and Hampton here. I just had a feeling they weren't going to do it. Almost everyone had that in their mock. Running back is a huge need, but you can get that day 2. Kudos to the Broncos for not reaching, taking the best player available. Broncos, just like the Cowboys, go get a running back and wide receiver tonight. Derek Harmon, very good pick for the Steelers. Didn't reach for a quarterback. A lot of people had Shedeur Sanders here. I refused to do it because that's not the value. The value was Derek Harmon. I had that in my mock as well. He will eventually take over Cam Hayward, who somehow is still playing. Pittsburgh has one of the best pass rush units now in the NFL. So I'll say this about Maureen Hampton, okay? He's a terrific fit for Jim Harbaugh's offense. He's an athletic freak. He breaks tackles. He can catch the ball. I don't love his vision. But you could have moved back here. I do not believe any team left was going to take a running back in the 1st round. Maybe someone early 2nd would have moved up for him. Impossible to know. And the Chargers, they need help on the D-line. They need help at corner. They need help at wide receiver. So I'm a little surprised they did this. It's a great fit. He's a super talented player. But I thought he was more of a second rounder. And once again, running back, positional value is day 2 for running back, not first round. Matthew Golden, the Packers. Okay. Let's talk about it. I had Golden 34th on my board and the 6th best receiver. Why? Because he ran the 4.29, but he plays like a 4.5 guy. He had some incredible games late in the year. Really came on. I wanted to see that player the whole year, though. And he just didn't. Early on, Texas wasn't featuring him as much. They were featuring Isaiah Bond more. Maybe Isaiah Bond getting hurt was the best thing for Matthew Golden. He took over as their number 1 receiver late in the year. He's so explosive, great route runner, so good after the catch, makes people miss in the open field. But this fit with Green Bay doesn't make a ton of sense. They already have a player just like Golden in Jaden Reed. And Jaden Reed has 2 years left on his contract. Reed had some drop issues this past year. Golden has great hands. He had some drop issues when he was at Houston, not so much this past year. But Green Bay already has a receiver, like I said, Reed, like that. They really needed a deep threat or an outside receiver, in my opinion, with Christian Watson maybe missing most of the year. I think Golden's fit is in the slot. The same position Jaden Reed plays, and positional value. I would rather have Jaden Higgins or Jalen Royals in the second round than Matthew Golden in the first round. Golden has to be the Packers' number 1 receiver. He has to develop into that, like a top 20 receiver in the NFL. Or this is a bad pick. That's why I like taking receivers in the second round. If you take receiver in the first round and they end up being a good number 2, it just kind of looks like, well, they might have reached a little bit. Yeah, he's a good number 2. That's good. But you really want to get a number 1 receiver if you use a first-round pick on him. I hope I'm wrong. I hope he ends up being number 1. I hope in 2 or 3 years I'm making a video saying I was wrong about him. I hope so. The dude is a hard worker. He loves football. And he is probably their best receiver right now on the roster, especially with Christian Watson injured. So I get it. I was hoping they'd move back. There was a ton of rumors all over X that they were talking to the Eagles and they were close to a deal. They should have moved back. Eagles were probably trying to get up to Jihad Campbell. We'll talk about him in a second. But you could have moved back to 32, got more draft capital, drafted Donovan Ezeraku, edge from Boston College, which is a big need, and drafted a receiver on day 2, or maybe 2 receivers. Look for them to draft another receiver in round 3 or 4. Donovan Jackson, Minnesota, so shocked they did not move back. I thought for sure they were going to try to trade back, especially because the team behind them did. But they must love Donovan Jackson. I like him too. He's going to play guard for them. But this pick makes sense for 2 reasons. Jackson is versatile. Well, I think his best position is guard. He did play tackle after Josh Simmons got hurt at Ohio State. And you have to protect J.J. McCarthy, who missed his whole rookie year, never started a game, improve the offensive line. I get it. I just think the Vikings, who now have 3 picks left, needed to move back. But Jackson would not have been there. I think the Texans would have taken Donovan Jackson, and they decided to move out on the next pick. We'll talk about the Texans at the end of the video. And then you have the Giants moving up to pick 25 to take Jackson Dart, quarterback Ole Miss. They didn't give up a lot. They gave up pick 99 to a very late 3rd round, almost a 4th rounder, and then a 3rd round next year. That's not a lot to give up to move from 34 to 25. So I'm a little surprised Texans didn't get more. More on that later. So you didn't give up a lot. They must have thought that someone else was going to move up for Dart, or that the Browns may use the 33rd pick, the first pick tonight on Dart. I don't understand this at all. I think this is one of the worst picks in the entire draft. I think Dart's going to be a good backup. He's got size, he's got arm, he's got athleticism. It's like the Giants didn't watch the Florida game. He was horrible in that game. I think he's the 5th best quarterback in this class. I think he's a good backup. Sorry, Jackson, love you, but this doesn't make any sense to me. They didn't have to give up much, but now the Giants, if you stink next year and you have a high pick, you're probably not taking a quarterback because you're tied to Dart. Dart probably won't play much this next year. He needs some development. He needs to make better decisions. Maybe his accuracy can improve down the field. Let's be honest, Josh Allen didn't have deep ball accuracy either. And Brian Daboll, the head coach of the Giants, he coached Allen in Buffalo. He was the offensive coordinator. Maybe he can get the most out of Dart. Dart's not Josh Allen, though. So I doubt it. Most Most QBs that aren't accurate coming out of college don't all of a sudden become really accurate. So it happens like Josh Allen, but it's rare. So this was one of the worst moves in the first round, in my opinion. They did such a good job with their third pick taking Carter. This just doesn't make any sense to me. But they didn't give up a lot. Okay, Atlanta moves up for James Pierce Jr., edge Tennessee, via the Rams. So they give up a lot. They got a fourth round back, but gave up pick 46, middle of the second round, pick 242, and a first round next year. Let's be honest, the Falcons, they're not a Super Bowl contender. Michael Penix Jr., he's still an unknown. He didn't play many games this past year. Their quarterback. The Rams could be picking middle of the first round again. I don't think it'll be a top 10 pick. But Atlanta, I just don't think they're a contender. I don't think they're better than Tampa Bay in their division. They could pick in the 20s. They could make the playoffs, absolutely. But you better hope you are making the playoffs, because this could be the 13th, 14th, maybe 17th pick next year. So great move for the Rams. More on that later. So my first thought was maybe they're trading up for Josh Connolly Jr. He's the only offensive lineman left that had a first-round grade. And Caleb McGarry, their right tackle, is a free agent after this year. And their quarterback, Michael Penix, is left-handed. So the right tackle is his blind side. So it's a very important position for the Falcons. But James Pierce Jr., maybe besides Abdul Carr, has the most speed of any edge rusher in this class. His pass rush win rate was off the charts. But there are some character issues. I've heard the word lazy, and this is rumors, that he doesn't love football, not a great locker room guy. And when he went against the worst competition, that's when he did the most production. And also, the Falcons went defensive playmaker with the 15th pick. I think they were going to take James Pierce Jr. with the 15th pick. They did not think Jalen Walker would be there. So that was their guy at 15. And when Pierce started sliding, they're like, we got to go get this guy. The Falcons needed defensive playmakers, especially off the edge. They got 2 in this class. Their defense could be a lot better. But you give up a lot for a player that has some character concerns. When I hear the word lazy, that's such a red flag. I think it's a reach, and you give it way too much. Falcons, as much as I love the Jalen Walker pick, I hate giving up draft capital, especially future first-rounders, especially with his red flags. Baltimore Ravens. So what I love about the Ravens is they don't care what position it is. They're going to take the best player. 3 straight years they've gone defensive back with their first-round pick. There are teams in the league that refuse to take DBs in the first round because the position's being devalued, especially corner, with a lot of teams playing too high, playing zone. So the Ravens 2 years ago drafted Kyle Hamilton, safety out of Notre Dame, with their first-round pick. What a pick. One of the best safeties in the NFL. Last year they took Nate Wiggins, corner from Clemson. Ravens didn't care he's 170 pounds. They didn't care if corner's been devalued. He's a good cover man, and he had a solid rookie season. And this year they take Malachi Starks. They needed a safety opposite Hamilton. All of a sudden the Ravens secondary is looking really good. So Starks and Hamilton, that duo, best ball skills of any safety group in the NFL. Makes total sense. Very Ravensy pick. And Tyleik Williams for the Lions, defensive tackle, Ohio State. This is a little bit of a reach to me. He's a really good run defender, but his arms are short. After Aleem McNeil got hurt, their defensive line wasn't the same. Obviously, Aiden Hutchinson as well. But they needed depth at defensive tackle. I would have liked them to trade down maybe. I know the Eagles were calling. Trade down. I think they could have had him at 32 or maybe early second round. But I get it. Really good run defender. You got Josh Jacobs in the division. You got Aaron Jones. You got to stop the run. Josh Connolly Jr., offensive tackle, Oregon, to Washington. Love this pick. They upgraded left tackle with Laramie Tunsil. Why not upgrade right tackle? And Connolly, intangibles off the charts. One of the highest character players in this draft. And Washington has taken maybe a weakness, offensive line, and turned it into a strength in one off season. Great pick. Maxwell Hairston to the Bills. I heard he was going first round. Bills really need a corner. He has traits. He's not the 30th best player in this draft, but I don't think I had him too much further. The big thing with him was I don't think he was worth the 23rd pick. A lot of people thought Green Bay would take him. Where is my board? I've lost it. Yeah, I have him 35, so no problem with this pick. fills a huge need. He's really fast. He has a ton of upside. And the Bills really needed a number 2 corner. Jihad Campbell to the Eagles. They trade up one spot, give up a 5th rounder. Maybe they thought the Chiefs would trade with someone else. The Eagles must have really loved Jihad Campbell. Well, otherwise, why move up one spot, give up a 5th rounder? But there was a shoulder issue with him. He's a top 20 player in this draft. The Eagles somehow luck out and get these really good players where they're picking, like Cooper DeJean last year got him in the 2nd round. If one for the shoulder issue, Campbell would have gone probably top 20. Buccaneers would have made sense, but their doctor might have flagged that shoulder. So great pick by the Eagles. Don't like giving a 5th rounder, but they got a top 20 player at 31. And the last pick of the 1st round was the Chiefs. They took Josh Simmons, offensive tackle from Ohio State. Another guy, I had him in my top 20. If he wasn't hurt, he would have been long gone. He might not be ready till October or November. Chiefs didn't care. They have finally solved left tackle. You could play Josh Simmons at left guard, or more than likely, when he's healthy, play him at left tackle and move Jalen Moore into left guard. Probably upgraded 2 spots. Okay, so the winner and loser of the 1st round. Let's start with the loser, the Houston Texans. Here's why I did not like what they did. They moved from 25 to 34, 9 spots, and only got the 99th pick this year, which is a late 3rd round, and a 3rd rounder next year. That's not nearly enough to move out of the 1st round. Now, the player you draft at 34, you're not going to have a 5th-year option on. The biggest difference in picks is 32 to 33. Because if you don't know this, every 1st-round pick, you have a 5th-year option. He's controllable for 5 years. So when you move out of the 1st, you need to get a lot. For example, the Rams got a lot from the Falcons to move back. But somehow the Texans only got 2/3. The Giants were moving up for a quarterback. So typically, you give up more if you're trying to get your franchise quarterback. Because that's what the Giants think Jackson Dart is. They're probably wrong. But I just don't understand why the Texans didn't get more. Or move back with the Eagles, because we know they were trying to move up. The Texans had to get pick 65. If I'm the Texans GM, I'm getting 65, not 99. And a 3rd next year. But even that, I don't think it's enough. You need a 3rd rounder and maybe a 2nd next year to move down 9 spots and not have the 5th-year option on that player. Just not nearly enough, Texans. It just doesn't make sense. Texans might have just gotten caught. They might have been targeting Donovan Jackson and thought for sure he'd be there. And when the Vikings took him the pick before, they just took what they could get. I don't know. But to me, the Texans are the biggest loser in this draft just because they needed more draft capital than that. The biggest winner in the draft is the Los Angeles Rams. They have not made a pick yet. Why? Well, first of all, they didn't have a 2nd-round pick. And they got a ton. We've talked about it. They get pick 46. That pick is valuable in this draft. And they get the Falcons' 1st-rounder next year, which could be a top 15 pick. And the Rams may take a quarterback next year in a much stronger class. Matthew Stafford can't play forever. So they could package those 2 picks to move up. And as far as pick 46 goes, there's not much difference between 26 and 46. There is a little difference. We talked about this. I don't see much difference in this draft between 20 and 70. So kudos to the Rams. Great job. Guys, I love doing this. Thank you, friends and family, so much for your support. The channel is growing every day. If you're not subscribed, please do so now and hit the bell for notifications. Comment down below. Who's your favorite pick, least favorite pick? Comments help a lot, so do likes. So like this video. Helps the algorithm, helps grow the channel. And also share this with anyone who loves football. That also helps grow the channel, obviously. Check these out if you have not. Look out for my 2nd round mock later this afternoon, and I will see you in the next one.